Let me just find that out. How are you? Hey, Robert. How's it going?
Hey, how's it going? All right.
Take advantage. Sometimes I don't.
All right.
You said veterans?
I think Veterans Memorial. So we'll have a, once that opens up on here, we'll be able to. Right.
Oh, you'll be able to see it?
Yeah. Perfect. So 5:30, I guess we will call the meeting to order. I'll read the first part here. Notice is hereby given that the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board of the City of Alpine, Texas will hold a meeting at 5:30 p.m. on Wednesday, April 13th, 2022 at City Council Chambers located at 803 West Holland Avenue and via Zoom for the purpose of considering the attached agenda. Meeting login details may be found at the city website 24 hours prior. This notice is posted pursuant to the Texas Open Meetings Act. Action items approved at this meeting will go to the City Council for consideration. Determination of quorum and proof of notice of meeting. We do have over 3 people physically here, so quorum is present. Go to citizen comments. There is no citizens here. So we'll move to number 4, approval of minutes of previous meetings. So we'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the March 9th, 2022 minutes.
Okay, is there a second?
A second.
Okay, any discussion on that? All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
And vote is unanimous. So that is approved. Move on to number 5, information and discussion items. The A is update from Big Bend Parks and Recreation for Kids. There is some stuff there. Reached out to Marcy, and a couple interesting things with that one happening is on May 1st at Medina Park, 2:30 to 3:30 p.m. They're going to have an annual community meeting and ice cream social. So it's on Facebook. So they're trying to reach out and kind of get some more board members for BB Parks, kind of get that thing going again. Letty was the president. She is now involved with the organization, but was it Crisis Center? So she's been super busy. So they're going to reach out. That's May 1st, 2:30 to 3:30 p.m. at Medina Park, annual community meeting and ice cream social. She did say that if any park members want to go to that, mark it on your calendar. Y'all are, everyone's welcome. The public's welcome.
Cool.
The more the merrier. And they are going to reach out at that meeting and hopefully try to get a couple more BB Parks members, including one that would sit on the board here. So they'll be reaching out for that. The other thing from BB Parks is Marcy said they are filling out a Kubota Hometown Proud grant, which is for $100,000. They're gonna try to get that for the splash pad. So they're reaching out for a large grant, and I think they choose 5 people. When I was reading about it, 5 different $100,000 grants regionally. So we'll be in the Louisiana, Texas, New Mexico section, Oklahoma. So that is everything from Big Bend Parks and Recreation for Kids. B, the update from Keep Alpine Beautiful. A couple things there. Adelina said they're moving forward with the Earth Day event, April 21st. I think that Friday from 5 to 7:30 p.m. I did throw a, just for you guys, this is the advertisement for it, flyer, perfect. And so there'll be, I think that's posted on Facebook as well for anyone, the public that wants to come out. It'll be at Coconut Park. She said lots of vendors are going to be there, and they're reaching out for help and stuff like that to run that. So it should be a cool event. And then the other thing that I threw in as well was reached out and Keep Alpine Beautiful, just a little history of it. We were trying to figure out when it started. It looks like it started in 2009, and I don't believe it's a 501c3 as far as a nonprofit, but started in 2009. And a couple things I was going to bring to y'all's attention was it looked like the Environmental Advisory Board was the members. There's a resolution on this 3rd page, resolution number 2009-0803. And in it, it says the Keep Alpine Beautiful Committee will be made up of the members of the Alpine Environmental Advisory Board, And we've reached out to the city. That was one board that had been spoken about dissolving at some point because
Okay.
it hasn't met in so long. So that would be just something to keep in mind. We'll have to figure out how that affects.
So they may roll it into Parks and Recreation.
Really not too sure yet. We've just started discussing it, but at least we're aware of it to kind of
Right.
figure out what's going to happen.
Thank you, Darren.
No problem.
Is that part of the larger, I mean, it says keep Texas beautiful up top. Is that part of a state organization?
That's a good question. I think we probably just need to figure that out and see what that is. And I guess reach out to Keep Texas Beautiful and see.
See if they have like a little Keep Alpine Beautiful listed on there.
see.
And it must be because Article 3 says, the purpose is to promote the Keep Texas Beautiful program.
I think it would be great if that was a 501c3, but we'll see how, we'll reach out to them and see, I guess how that works. Good note of that. So that is everything from update from Keep Alpine Beautiful. I guess any discussion on that or questions that you guys had? Cool. Then we'll move into C. This is could be a longer one. Update from Alpine Parks Department. We missed you last time, Robert, so we'll see what's going
I
on.
was here last time.
He was here.
Oh, that's right. I wasn't here.
Yeah.
I was thinking 2 meetings ago. Anything?
No, I mean, we painted the bleachers at the Little League field and had to work on those fields to get them ready for the baseball season and softball season. And the street department helped us drain the pool. We're gonna have to power wash it a little bit because some of that paint is kind of old, chipping, and repaint the whole thing, start over again,
The pool?
just like every year.
Oh, y'all paint that every year.
Yeah, yeah, and then seal the cracks and stuff like that. And now this year, since Alonso's not here, I guess we've got Adrian and Miguel. They're the ones that are certified. So, but I guess we're gonna have to help them seal all the cracks and paint everything and fill up the pool, get it going, and just keeping up with the parks in general. And then now we got some more work added on to us. The tech dot is no longer gonna they're no longer gonna subcontract workers to water the trees and clean around all that stuff. So now we're gonna have to do it. And there's something like, we counted on the day, something like 98 trees. And then we started having problems with the feral hogs on the south side. Instead of having gophers, now it's feral hogs. Last Friday, at the Medina Park, they pooped from one end of the park to the other. It took us an hour to clean that stuff up. I mean, and then now they're going into the Valentino Khan field.
So they're feral hogs, not javelina?
I don't know whether it's feral hogs or javelinas. Well, somebody said it was feral hogs, and then a guy that was walking there said it was elk. Said it can't be elk because they're heavy. Yeah, they would have something into that. Some of that stuff is still wet. So
If they mistake an elk for a feral hog, they need glasses.
yeah. Well, they didn't actually see them, but he's just assuming it's. I didn't think so, but. We're just keeping up with the parks, trying to get it ready for this weekend. We're eating, and I'm not gonna mow because there's gonna be a lot of people on that park, so I don't wanna, have them step on it too much.
I guess a couple of questions I had. One of them kind of relates to G down there, the prioritization of city parks, including repurposing and closure. In that, in your mind, how much time is spent maintaining and let's say Nopalitos Park over here, that small little triangle that you just scrape and kind of move on? How much time a month does that take?
Well, actually, we haven't even got to that. We haven't even worked on it because we haven't installed a sprinkler system or anything to it. I mean,
And there's no grass.
and we're gonna have to plant that grass and everything. But I don't think the city can afford sod.
Yeah.
But I mean, once we plant grass and everything has a layer of topsoil on it. So all we're gonna do is bring in a sprinkler system and throw some seed and cover it up a little bit so the birds won't eat it. And hope for the best.
What about the Veterans Memorial Park, the one in front of the sheriff's station?
Well, that one, David was working on it. I think he's got the sprinklers going on it. And he hasn't said anything about it. So, I mean, like I said, we've been busy with those baseball fields.
Hmm.
So,
Would you normally have to mow that park?
yeah, we do, because they're on timers. So we gotta mow that one and then mow that one by them.
I think
But
a
I still
trustee
got
with a
ice cream
mower
parlor.
would probably do a good
That's right.
trick, you know?
I'm trying to figure exactly, is that the one that's on the turn?
So
Or am
the-
I wrong?
if you turn, the city water is there and then the sheriff's office and the police.
Yeah, it's in front of the police,
Oh, the one right in front.
Yeah, the one
Yeah.
right there across from the
Oh.
the VFW, right there.
right
Yeah, there
across.
you go.
Okay, I get it. Oh, I did.
Yeah, trustee with a lawnmower should be mowing that.
What about the county courthouse?
oh, we don't do, that's not ours.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, that's the counties.
Parks plan listed that one as one of ours.
Really?
I
Oops.
think so.
Well, we better get deleted.
Yeah, we'll take that. So that's good. So you don't do any work on that one.
The county does the maintenance on
Yeah,
the.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, they do
theirs.
that.
That's their property. That's weird.
How about Arbolitos Park, the one that is right across from Amtrak? Just those trees.
Oh, the railroad.
well, all we do
One-
to that is just water and keep the, rake the leaves
Yeah.
when he needs it. And that's it. I mean, you turn on the water and leave it, come back 15 minutes later and turn it off.
Okay. So I guess here's what I would ask is, from your perspective, since you manage all the people and everything, if you were just added on 97 trees or 99 trees to water and all that kind of stuff, which is a lot more work, on these other parks that we're looking at prioritizing or even closing, do they require much labor or time on your end?
No, not really. It's just, no. No, it's just there. I mean, with the lawnmowers, that's not, it's not a big deal. Not like it used to be. I mean, I used to, when I was in high school, I got in those programs, those JTPA programs. That was a lot harder because they didn't have a sprinkler system. Everything was aluminum pipe. You had to take them apart, move them, drag them across town, drag them back, and then mow with the push mower. And that was just, nowadays it's a lot easier, especially with the sprinkler system. It just takes, 4 guys, 5 guys. So, and then we all jump on one park all together. We knock it off in a hurry. But I mean, yeah, but now I don't know what's it gonna be like now with watering these trees.
So what happened with that? TxDOT was,
They're gonna do away with that, hiring subcontractors. The guys I hired this time haven't even showed up. I mean, they showed up, they started out pretty good and all of a sudden they just, because they also do construction. So I guess they must be pretty busy because they haven't been doing their job.
These are the trees along Holland, right?
Yeah,
That
that's right.
replaced this last time. Yeah.
Are they gonna continue to do like the high weeds and things of that nature, do you think?
I didn't even think about that, no, because they said they're gonna do away with subcontractors. So
So the city.
I guess that's gonna be us.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, along the loop.
A very recent development,
Yeah.
because we had a resident call in asking if we could water the trees, and that started the conversation.
I see, and it snowballed to where it's at now,
so it's city land though, right?
like the basket.
Yeah, but it's TxDOT, right? So
TxDOT right
generally, that's why they.
I've never seen one go through.
You would think
again.
there's some kind of agreement. Is there an agreement in place, or that might just be state law that dictates
I don't think there's an agreement.
who shall maintain it?
We need to find out. Whose responsibility
Yeah, I didn't
is.
think about that. So that's gonna be.
Who needs to find out or whose responsibility it is?
Well, it was theirs, but they don't want to do it anymore. I mean,
Yeah, but with 5 staff members, it's got, I mean, that's gonna be difficult.
yeah.
So that would almost be like an MOU between you guys and TxDOT. But we also don't have an MOU or anything else between the city and mowing the creek or anything? Because doesn't the city actually mow the creek?
Yeah, we do. Eddie will have the guys go through there, right? Robert?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, where it needs mowing, the mower, the big mower go, it can get in there and mow it. But then like the creek going towards inside the golf course, they use the front end loader to clean it up. And over here, these over here.
Okay.
Hmm.
So that's the
Yeah.
streets department.
Mhm. Yeah,
I like it when they mow the creek. So just so
yeah,
you
that's what it
know.
is. Yes, ma'am.
Wow. I never knew.
So is that still an ongoing discussion then between the city and TxDOT? Sounds like it's.
Eddie's been working back with them, so I was just advised earlier today that basically we're gonna stop watering. And Eddie said, I guess that we were gonna pick it up.
Poor Eddie.
Does the city have a water truck or anything?
Yes.
Okay, is that practical to drive a water truck around and water those?
I don't know. if
It's- It would be a lot easier. But then here comes paving season, so they're gonna need their water truck. So, but he's got a big old container, 300 gallon container.
Hmm.
And I guess we're gonna have to do it that way, just throw it back on one of the trucks and just water by hand.
So drive the truck with a
Yeah.
200 gallon around to do it. The other thing I think we could discuss, and Adelina was talking about it, was an adopt a tree program or something like that. Has Alpine ever had an adopt a tree program for downtown?
Not that I know.
Okay.
You know, in like Santa Fe, they have adopt a medium. And you get to put your little sign out there saying, this medium is kept up by this company or whatever, or this person. And, you know, that might be something we could do, but from the people on Facebook, these folks don't really want to do anything. It's like you try to teach them to fish and they're like, can't you just give me the fish?
Right? Why didn't I get it ready? No.
The how much time does the baseball field take to manage or to maintain?
How much time?
Does that take up the majority of your time, or is it mowing?
No.
Or
It's about, well, half day,
okay.
because you gotta weed it and then mow it. But why do you keep asking me how much, why do you keep asking me the same question? How much time?
In my mind, labor is the major cost. So that's the major cost from the city's perspective on what's getting utilized. I'd say in my head too, a recommendation for the city might be to zero scape certain things or lower maintenance.
Right.
Ultimately, if labor is going to be your continued cost, then what can the city do to alleviate that?
I mean, what can you do? You really can't close any of the parks. Can you?
But he's talking about not like putting rock displays and where you don't
That's-
grow
Things that don't require watering.
watering. or
Indigenous
growing
plants
or
and things,
anything,
yes.
but then you have snake problems and
Yeah.
you still have to weed eat around the rocks.
Yeah, so no matter what you put out there, it's still, you still gotta do
It's
it
still me.
regardless.
Okay. So, I guess any other discussion on y'all's ends?
No, I asked my question.
I mean, I'm thinking that the Veterans Memorial, the one that's across from the jail and whatever. Maybe we should, if it's a good little park, but at the same time, if we need to eliminate parks, maybe like she was saying, maybe the sheriff's department can take over.
You know, I can hear them whooping up there on top of this jail. I know they got time and energy to do that. So,
Robert, is there any parks that you guys don't manage that we thought? So I thought that we managed the county courthouse.
No.
But just to label them off my head real quick, Centennial, you guys do.
Mhm,
Medina,
mhm,
Baines,
mhm,
Arbolitos,
mhm,
Railroad Park.
mhm. No, the rural park, somebody, some group of elder citizens, they're doing that.
Oh,
They
okay.
do that.
And then
So it's a
also
volunteer group.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
the city one down by Scoops, that's managed by that. You do some work there, don't you?
Yeah,
So, do y'all mow that or,
no,
okay, she mows that? Or the, near Scoops, they do the actual mowing and everything on that? The one, what's that part called?
Old Town.
Old Town. that's-
yeah. We mow it and they water it.
Okay, so you do that one. But railroad requires no maintenance at all, mowing or anything.
Actually, no maintenance at all. They take care of all of it, except for over the winter, one of the pipes busted, we have to fix it. I mean, stuff like that they can't do.
And then Coconut you manage, American Legion, Pueblo Nuevo. The Veterans Memorial.
Yeah.
That one as well. No Politos.
Uno palito, I mean, like I said, we haven't actually done anything to it.
That was quick and
Nothing
easy.
there
huh?
but a bench.
Yeah.
So railroad and county courthouse. Okay.
Wow, that's a lot of work.
And then we do the Saw Ross. We cleared it for them to practice on it, but that's all we do is just clear the land and that's it. There's no water there or nothing.
Where's that one at?
At the Saw Ross, those,
It's
Those four-
diagonally from. It's on Gallego and Avenue F.
yeah, there's one that's fenced in and then the ones across on Avenue F, they're just fenced in, but like I said, we just clear it for them to practice on it. And that's it.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, where they do the.
It's attached to the softball field.
Yeah. It's all along the railroad.
And that little place where they store the gravel, that little park back in there about Avenue F and all, and I think it's on Avenue
Avenue G.
G,
Yeah.
yeah, where they store the gravel. You don't do anything to that, do you?
No, well, just mow it and
Just
we
mow
eat
it
it.
or- Okay.
Yeah.
It's more like a baseball park, not a
Yeah,
park, a city park.
it's Pueblo.
That's what.
Yeah.
Okay. Learn something every day.
I guess, 'cause we'll end up bringing that back up when we get down to G we're discussing prioritization of city parks on if they're gonna, what's gonna happen with them. So I guess any other questions for update from Alpine Parks Department?
So,
All right, the next one is discussion with city staff regarding procedural items, questions, and recent parks and recreation related items. And I was gonna turn that one over to Gio so he can kind of explain why that was on here now.
So I just added this section because oftentimes there will be items that aren't necessarily on the agenda that the board might have questions about. Basically kind of opening up in general, just for a general discussion. So in this case, I mean, I doubt that there's anything that y'all have, but if there is, they're welcome to ask. And it's reserved for other staff members that aren't in the Parks Department.
Excellent.
Okay. Any other questions on that one or things to ask?
so you're saying that's just gonna be a recurring item on our,
I'd like to put it there
Agendas.
because for other boards,
never
I've noticed that, for TOMA reasons,
Mm-hmm.
if it's not on the agenda, when do you discuss it? And I think it just kind of opens it up just to have a discussion if there is questions or comments about, procedural items and things of that nature.
And one day somebody may ask us a question to talk about in session, so. We can hope.
Okay, the next one, F is, or E, sorry, discussion with city staff regarding workshops, discussion items, and citizen engagement. So basically, we're gonna reach out and have Gio explain the difference between a workshop and an actual board meeting, and when we might require a workshop.
So workshops, typically, there's gonna be no action taken. Generally, it's gonna be to have a discussion between the board, city staff, or other people that are invited to the meetings, including the public. Again, typically, you won't actually make any or take any action there. And if you all want to do a workshop, I'd recommend doing it ahead of your regular meeting at 5:30 and then immediately after starting the meeting, if you do have any items that you want to take action on, like approval of minutes or just any general items. I'd say that that's pretty much the biggest difference between a workshop and a regular meeting. Kind of opening it up and starting a conversation. Darren had asked about getting people more involved, and I said, likely social media, radio, things of that nature. Just kind of advertising if you want people to attend or attend the workshops and getting the word around that way. But, typically we haven't had too much turnout, when we did the master parks plan, for example. Did any of y'all go to those meetings? I mean, that was heavily advertised and we didn't have a large turnout, but I mean, we can certainly try to get people to come.
So by that one question, I guess, by definition, is a workshop open to the public, or could it just be us discussing?
It has to be, if there's more than 3 of you present, it has to be open.
Has to be
public,
open to the public.
And it has to be posted publicly.
Okay.
Right.
72 hours in advance?
72 hours.
Is there anything that comes, nothing actually has to come out of a workshop, it's more of a discussion?
Yeah, really, it's just to get the board's feedback and to kind of collect information, and then generally after that, it might come back as an action item. I mean, it's very similar to a discussion item. I'd say that the main difference would be that, of course, you wouldn't take any action, and it would be to open it up as a discussion, likely to other parties, including the public or other board members, etc.
Okay.
Saying that then, having it at 5:30, the workshop, and just available to the public and everything else like that, then how do you guys feel about creating a workshop possibly for the closing of parks? Because I think that's kind of a big issue, or also rental agreements and things like that.
Oh, I think you need one for both of those.
Okay.
Because that's a hot topic around town right now. Because there was that bluegrass band that wanted to put on a concert, and they picked Coconut, but A, you can't be there after dark, and B, there's no beer there. So they changed their venue. And that means the city lost money on that deal. So,
Well, they actually were moved here.
did they? Okay, so you got money.
But yeah, their concern was also the weather.
That's
That was a
true.
big one. Alcohol was a big one. I mean, and personally, my own personal opinion, I think there should be exceptions or processes in place to where, the city can grant authorization on a case-by-case basis, whether that be approval from the city manager and the chief of police, or by some other means. But I would expect that the chief of police would have to approve for,
Oh, yeah.
Increased patrols and make sure that they're well staffed that evening, and things of that nature.
Perhaps if we do have a
So we need
workshop,
to
we can
do
ask
it,
him
yeah.
to come and get some
Oh, yeah, that's
some
true.
info from him.
That would be good to know, the police perspective on alcohol in parks,
Right.
what that entails.
So let's do that one, and then you could also talk to us about like even the times, like when the curfews are, and just to get a balance for
Right.
the times of the closing of the parks at what time or not.
I think that should be standardized
Because
too.
they all
because
need to be
as
on the same.
he's shown, it was all over the
Yeah.
place.
But it would be nice to be able to, let's say, for example, schedule stargazing from time to time.
Absolutely.
Or have a mechanism that can get that approved.
Right, and that
Absolutely.
can also be like on the form where it's already, okay, so it's on here, stargazing, so you check that off
Right.
and whatever. Just to make it easy for everybody.
Does a workshop have to be posted just 72 hours in advance?
Yes,
Okay, and then we would alert any of the parties, and that's when you advertise to
yeah,
get people involved.
oh, absolutely. I'd say social media is probably gonna be the best. And then, of course, we can do like radio and things of that.
Would be good to have.
I would put it on Alpine General Knowledge and maybe WTF too, but I'm not gonna be annoying.
Right, be nice.
Just to let them know.
Yeah,
But you have
You
to
do
watch
that.
yourself on that one.
right. So, yeah, let's do that. I mean, we need to nip this in the bud.
So on the workshop, we're talking about, are we gonna have the workshop? Can we have a workshop on multiple issues?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just get a workshop on the permits and everything else like that, but
I
also
think so.
closing of the parks?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll line that one out, I guess, before the next meeting.
Okay, just let me know. Cool.
Okay, and then
Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, the only thing is, then if we can kind of come to some unanimous agreement of what we think about closing parks,
Mhm.
then we'll have our ideas towards it. We bring it to the workshop and then we'll get feedback on that.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And I guess I was gonna ask, so do you create an agenda prior to a workshop, and that's what gets posted, so. Okay.
And generally, I mean, we're gonna post an agenda if 3 or more people are present. Right, from the board.
So on the boards, this is kind of related, and I probably somewhat asked this last time, but it didn't stick, so apologies. But so we have this meeting, we have potential for a workshop. I know city council, for certain topics, they kind of go behind closed doors. I forget what the term is, and they just talk amongst themselves.
Executive session.
Is there an equivalent of that for boards?
Not really.
And I guess just for example, take the ordinances, there's a lot of back and forth and discussion and looking into the details. It's probably going to have to happen at some point in that. So
Right.
I guess I'm just curious, where's the best place for that to happen?
There's specific reasons that a governing body can go into a closed session by law. And it's very to the point, like if you're dealing with personnel issues, for example. So say if the council wanted you all to interview applicants. Technically, that might be something that the board could do, but again, very specific, right? Consultation with the attorney, but the attorney does charge us $200 per hour, to do things, so just want to keep that in mind as well. And discussions about real property, like the sale, like the consideration or deliberation of the exchange or sale of property would be a reason. So it'd have to fit cleanly in one of those categories, and typically we'd want to shy away from that.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks.
Saying that, then when we get into is a workshop the best area to really get into the nitty gritty of the details of saying, if we were going to close a park at 8 PM or 9 PM or 10 PM, where does that argument happen so that the board comes to a unanimous conclusion? Is that something in discussion that is just a very fluid thing of like, well, I think 8 PM and
Yeah, I mean, it would be a majority of whatever the majority would think, I would say. I mean, because the majority is going to be the one to approve a formal recommendation to city council.
And that's where we discussed it on the workshop.
Right.
But you can't formally make that decision in the workshop. You have to do it here.
We're just an advisory board.
The
so-
only way that you'd be able to all make a decision would it be for it to be an action item. So you could have the workshop and then have an action item on the regular meeting portion and take action there. So it could be done in the same kind of setting.
In the same meeting?
Yeah, you do the
Okay.
workshop and start the regular meeting, and on the
Oh, yes,
regular
that's
meeting,
right. You're
you'd
right.
have the action items.
You're right.
Gotcha.
You're right. I remember doing that.
so the action item comes immediately at the next meeting.
Yes. I
You
mean, right,
could if
like
you
right
wanted to.
after. You could do let's just suppose we meet here at 1 o'clock for the workshop to 3 o'clock. It ends at 3 o'clock. And then at 3:30, we'll start our regular board meeting, and then we do the action items at that time.
With
Am I
the,
correct?
You could do that, yeah. I still recommend maybe starting the workshop at 5:30, unless the board prefers, y'all can do it prior to 5:30. Just keep in mind, people work and,
Yeah.
residents might want to attend after work. and things like that.
then that action item wouldn't be on the original agenda, would it, for the 72 hours?
Yeah, so the agenda would include the workshop in the beginning and then a regular meeting.
Yeah.
So you could even do it okay, you have your workshop starting at 5:30 and the regular meeting starts immediately after the workshop ends.
Mhm.
You can post it that way.
Okay. So I guess we're in agreement. We'll have a workshop next time, 5:30. On some of that stuff. We'll reach out to Geo for which parties, like the police and stuff like that, Daryl, to kind of who we think's.
Like I said, y'all could, if you wanted to make it earlier, it might limit
no.
attendance.
I need to
Yeah.
look at that date. I may be out of town on the regularly scheduled ones.
And we, right now, would just need a quorum of 3 members. Because the board isn't fully, we don't have 7. So if we had 7 members, the quorum would be 4, but since we have, I think it's 5, it's under 7.
Yeah.
It would be 3 that would need to be here in person to make it work, according to the ordinance.
Okay. All right, perfect. Any other questions on that one or? Okay, so I guess this will tie into F then.
Correct.
F will move into kind of like, I guess, just some your initial thoughts on this then we'll push it into the workshop in the future, but discuss rental and permit agreements for Alpine Parks. Go ahead. Any items on that?
Well, city needs money, and if people want to rent out the park and put up their own bleachers or something like that, and maybe a deposit to take care of trash, I don't really have a problem with that. That's my 2 cents worth.
I guess one quick thing, Gio, on from the park side of things, what is currently rented from the parks? Is there anything as far as Coconut, the pavilion, or anything else? Like an overview?
Just the pavilion and this one.
Okay.
They have access for electricity though, right? Or no?
At the pavilion, yes.
So when they rent it, that's part of it? I mean, that they have access to the electricity?
Robert?
Yes, sir.
So and if there's a large event, then they can work back with us to get the pedestal or power panels put up as well.
Okay.
So for example, they're having the Multicultural Fest in June. They're gonna have like power panels so they can accommodate vendors.
And that's just $25 for however long the event lasts,
Per day, yes.
per day. Okay, good.
Currently, yes. So
That's something.
I was explaining to Darren that typically if somebody wants it in the morning for 4 hours, we still record the time and put it on the calendar for the duration that they request.
Mhm.
But if somebody else calls, we'll make every effort to accommodate that second person as long as their time. But what we end up doing is reaching out to the first one and saying, hey, is it all right if we allow them to use the pavilion on the same day? And then we have to let the second people know, the trashes might not be indeed, things like that.
I see.
Yeah. So we just set their expectations, but we try to accommodate everybody, and we would obviously charge both parties. in that case.
Excellent.
So I saw that you have a form for the Coconut Pavilion agreement. If there's only 2 pieces that are rented out, the pavilion and the swimming pool, so we would need 2 separate price structures.
So the swimming pool, the board can kind of disregard that because the council's already considering a resolution at the next meeting to set those pool fees. But as far as, I just would recommend the board focus maybe on the pavilion and then the event permitting, of course, as well.
If you don't mind me asking, how did they set those swimming pool fees? And then why are we being asked to set the pavilion fees?
So our ordinance for the swimming pool actually stipulates that council will pass an annual resolution setting the fees. We have changed the fees over the years, but typically not very much. And this year we're not changing. City administration is not proposing a change in fees, so we're recommending last season's fees.
Okay.
And that's in a city ordinance.
Yeah, in the Parks and Recreation section, if you go to the swimming pool, you'll see that council sets that annually. And council did task you all with looking into event permitting along with the rental fees for different establishments. And y'all are welcome to recommend fees for the pool as well. It's just that they're already entertaining a resolution next Tuesday to set those, so.
Okay.
And I think
a
it's-
moot point then.
Yes.
I think it kind of goes, if I'm correct, when I was on city council, it goes with like what Saros fees are. It's kind of so that we can also get people to work for the city.
Right.
And that's the biggest thing. So
So those,
not a competition, but just to so there's some balance.
do those fees go into paying the lifeguards?
That I'm not too sure. I'd have to ask Megan.
And then are you wanting us to do a similar structure where we create a Parks and Recreation city ordinance for the pavilion fees? So that would go into an ordinance under Parks and Recreation?
Yeah, ideally, what I recommend is to structure the ordinance to where council can amend the fees annually by resolution. Because later on, it'll be an expense if you set fees by ordinance, it'll be an expense to change them, to send it to the codification company.
Right, and then come
So-
back.
So we try to stick to that structure where council can just pass a resolution, because that's much easier and more cost effective.
Gotcha. But that's not the way the swimming pool is done.
So it is, because the swimming pool and the ordinance, it says the council will set it by annual resolution, so it's more cost effective in that way. So we don't have to pass an ordinance every time we change the fees, including having 2 different readings, different meetings.
Okay.
It
So
takes longer.
is that how it's written for Coconut Pavilion right now or not?
On that one, we don't have an ordinance.
There's just not
on the
one.
pavilion.
Okay, but your recommendation is to mirror it like the swimming pool?
I do, as far as the fee structure is concerned, but anything long lasting, like rules and regulations, by all means, we can put it in an ordinance. Like anything that's pretty important, like for example, I don't know, if you wanted to get in the nitty gritty as far as like what is and what isn't allowed there, you can definitely recommend an ordinance, but by the fee structure, I'd recommend setting it up like the pool where council will set that annually by resolution.
I guess then saying that, so we know we would basically be doing the pavilion
And the civic center.
and the civic center.
Oh, the civic center, y'all don't have to worry about it.
That's just an example, right?
It was for, more for you all to see the rules and how it's laid out. And we've been meaning to improve the civic center as well. We certainly kind of changed it up over the years and it has improved, but there's some changes that need to be made there too, but
Sound system.
if you don't want, if the board doesn't want to, I wouldn't recommend.
I'm not going. Sound system.
Right, yes, absolutely.
So it's good to have those examples. I guess on the coconut form itself. Well, I guess going back to what you were saying as far as having that ordinance so that the fee structure is set by resolution by council. So that's something we would address when we're going through the Parks and Rec pertinent ordinances.
Yes.
And then the fee itself is on this form. Is that the only place that the fee is, like right now it says $25, right? So is that the only place that sits?
Pretty much, yes.
Okay. And so if we have a recommendation on the form itself, that's just, I guess, how does that?
So you can definitely
You can
make
change
that
it, right?
recommendation to us. We're open to changing it.
Okay.
To see, if y'all have recommendations to improve it, you
Okay,
can let us know.
Okay.
okay, so
But
that's just,
really, I
that's
think-
separate than the ordinance.
Yeah, really, I think at the very least to have what you all think would benefit the citizens, but yet protect the assets
Right.
and park.
Right.
Even if it's abstract, like, okay, we prefer the hours to be available this time to this time. I think this fee is reasonable. We should raise the fee. We shouldn't raise the fee. Things like that. Even if you at least gave recommendations like that, we could format a form. If y'all,
Gotcha.
if
Well,
you
like-
felt like formatting forms, by all means do, but we can do it for you as well.
Yeah,
I do know.
I mean,
how that
because
works.
I've noticed here that I'm sure when they're paying $25 for the fee, there's no indication that there's electricity being used. Who's paying for that?
Us, the city.
Okay. The other thing is there's not a fee for cleanup
Yeah.
also.
Right.
Yeah.
So
things need to
those
be-
two things to me are important to include somewhere in there.
Or
I mean, 'cause they need
or a
to know.
deposit.
Yeah, and that's,
Something.
it looks like the Civic Center one's definitely more detailed, so that's why that's a
And we
good,
looked
good
at-
one for us to look at.
in other cities and, some cities charge anywhere from 75 to 150 type. But then, we have to consider, at that rate, would anybody want to use it?
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's gotta be a balance because,
Right.
taxpayers are already paying for the parks essentially,
Yes.
so.
$49.50, that weighs about $50.
Do we know, seeing the supporting document one here with hours of like 2 hours, 2 hours, 10 hours, 2 hours, what events are going on here? Or even like, is it birthday parties or anything else?
No, she didn't report that, but I mean, if you'd like, I can definitely get
I'm just
our
curious.
administrative assistant to go in and see if we can report that as well.
The only reason I was wondering is I'm just kind of interested
Well, see,
in
and-
what it's getting
And
utilized
that's
for.
where I'm
you know-
concerned, like with electricity.
We could all, I mean, you all could also recommend, right now it's $25 for 8 hours, maybe 25 for 4,
Mhm.
and then 50 for 8, or, you know. as well.
Yeah, I thought of that.
That does sound good.
Yeah, I mean,
Because
because
there's people who want it all day.
we really need to think about, you know, like where she showed me that there was 15 hours on
Well,
here.
Yeah, there's two days at 15 hours and like, you know, I mean, that's a lot of electricity.
That's what I'm
And You're
I'm
gonna be
thinking
running the air
that.
conditioner or the heater. I mean,
Easter's a big,
I bet it is.
So, I mean, so that also puts a, or I see it as, and it puts a ding on the city using the electricity, because they're the ones who are paying it. You know,
I mean, I'd agree. You know.
I mean, I would have,
Yeah, because they're just they're paying a lump sum.
I mean, and I think it goes back to what Nathan said, just that it's a balancing act, because we don't want to raise it too high and prevent
Right.
people
Yes.
from, you know, having access to it.
So, I look on the Civic Center one and it's got the conditions for, you put up your deposit and if you meet the following, when you're all done, you get it back. In the case of Coconut Pavilion, I think we had Robert last time. Are there ever any issues? And probably the most you said was just they don't pick up their trash. Is there anything else there of, there's not really any equipment per se, or it's just, like you said, the electricity,
Yes.
concrete pad? Just living in your trash. Is there anything else we need to consider there? Of
To my
deposit
knowledge,
and leaving it
no,
in
would
good
be
condition?
More of a Robert question.
What do you think, Robert?
Huh?
How much work is it for you?
Well, really, they just throw the trash and the electricity, they don't always use it.
Yeah.
So, not unless they're gonna play music, but it's really not too bad. There's three big boxes of the dumpsters, but they don't.
So they generally clean up after themselves?
Yeah,
Nice. Do you have any recommendations as far as time scheduling or anything, like the AM, PM kind of thing, or?
no, not really. They usually, it depends on how many people are using it. Like on a weekend, there's 2 people, one in the morning and one in the evening too. But they usually, it's worked out pretty good. Nobody's fought over it, so.
That's good news.
And I guess the thing with the deposit, there's work that has to happen to take that in, give it back, et cetera. So if it's not a problem, then there's no reason to put that on.
I agree. Yes, you're right.
We
It
want
is-
to keep it easy. Unless there's an issue.
Correct.
I see that there's, the questions on the nonprofit organization. Do we waive the fees if they are nonprofit?
That is something that I wanted you all to look into as well. And that's a type of thing we'd want in the ordinance, is a mechanism to waive it. Right now, it is on there, but there's nowhere that says we will do it. But I mean, personally, I would think we should, right?
I mean, they're
It's up
trying
the
to do
city,
good things,
really.
They're trying to do good things for people.
Absolutely,
And I'm sure that they've got a very tight budget with whatever it is they're doing.
absolutely.
Is there,
It-
does it require proof to be a 501c3 or anything else like that when someone selects?
Yeah, usually we'll ask for a
For
copy of their certificate or paperwork. And so currently, it's pretty much up to the city manager to waive it. But I mean, I think if the board thinks it's important for them to be able to get it for free, we put it in the ordinance.
Yeah, if that's the case, if that's the approach, then maybe you just put on here, are you a nonprofit, and provide your 501c number or whatever
Right.
the pertinent information is, and it's just a given, then it gets waived. 'Cause you're right, it's just kind of open-ended right now. Do you request exemption?
I guess saying that then, if this is gonna be on the, is this something like before the workshop next time where I guess are we just gonna kind of dump our ideas and then we'll get a public feedback on it?
Yeah,
The public shows up. And then we'll take all that and then start ironing out the ordinance and everything else, cost structure, or whatever our recommendations are.
Mhm.
And if you're good at like digital art and stuff, maybe make a flyer. I'm not sure. I'm not very good at it. Throwing it out there if anybody is.
Does the side question, does the city of Alpine have a website or not a website, a Facebook?
No, not, yeah, Karen just asked us recently. No, we, APD has one, the visitor center and / tourism department has one. And the recycling center has one. Those are pretty much the three main ones that are authorized. We're working slowly towards that. It's just like I've explained to Karen, is it takes a lot of resources for somebody to manage. We want to make sure that whoever's managing it has the record side down, because social media records are just like regular records for us, for governments.
Oh, gotcha.
And then, you know, you have your freedom of speech implications, and people are, you know, in the comments saying things,
Yeah,
you know, there's rules.
just get into so much that you don't want to get into.
Hmm.
That's.
So we've
and
been
then
working.
you'd have to have a dedicated person to do that.
Right.
And that's
exactly.
another expense, so.
Mhm. So I mean, we've been working towards that, but Facebook particularly is, I don't know if that's an avenue we want to take right now.
If that was a event for the workshop, could that be posted on Visit Alpine or that doesn't really make sense?
It could,
Mhm.
Okay,
you would just want to talk to
Chris or?
Chris and or Heather or Lucy. But I mean, it's really just because that wouldn't be able to be paid by Hotwire, I'm pretty sure, which is what they work with primarily.
Oh,
So
gotcha.
if it's a paid advertisement, we need to pay it somewhere else.
But she's gonna post it on Facebook.
Well, in general knowledge, yeah, why not? I mean,
And you can definitely reach out to Adelina and ask if maybe she'd share it. I'd say obviously right up that alley.
it is, isn't it? Yeah.
Mhm. And we could have it shared with APD. They have about 10,000 followers.
That's the other thing,
Oh.
yeah.
And then, of course, we put it on our website. We can get it on the radio.
Excellent.
I guess any other comments or discussion on rental and permit agreements or?
No.
In the workshop. So on to G, discuss prioritization of city parks, including repurposing and closure. So the city has kind of tasked us with looking at park prioritization. I think some of it's from city council's perspective, and then the amount of work that you guys are, being asked to do. Budgetary requirements when they're starting to do the new budget, the cost of things. So I think we're starting to look at, they want to prioritize the parks of ones that we can make, ones that are requiring the most labor from y'all's part. And if it makes sense to close any of them and everything else, which I think your opinion is probably paramount in this of like, you deal with it day to day and everything else like that. And then also from our perspective, since we kind of represent all the so I guess saying that, I think there's 12 parks that we deal with, the ones that we kind of went through.
Mhm.
And I guess from our perspective, then if we can just come to an agreement on which ones we think are least important to hold, we won't come to any conclusion tonight, but we can at least have that to move forward with the workshop when we get public opinion on what they think about closing some of the other parks. I guess whatever, we'll just open it up to discussion, what you guys think.
Well, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, I think we need to be really careful about throwing closure out there initially, because my understanding from what I received and how I read it was we need to look at priority. However, the mention of closure is a very last resort. So if we get prioritizing is very different to me than talking about closure.
Correct.
You know, to me, if it's at the bottom of the list, that means maybe it takes less resources, you know, that Robert, if they're making decisions, where do I go? Oh, we go to the ones that are top of the list, not at the bottom of the list. And, you know, that's kind of why we're asking those questions earlier, is how much time are you spending at some of these that are further down the list, just to gain an understanding of what kind of savings is there, because from the sounds of it, if we're not spending a lot of time and resources on some of these parks low on the list, then there's not a lot of bang for your buck out there as far as saving resources by closing. So
Correct.
I would be very sensitive about mentioning that and putting it on agenda or anything like that. Now, if we're getting input, or if somebody is dictating to us and saying, thou shalt close parks, I think that's a different discussion. But
Correct.
prioritizing to me is very different.
Yes.
And even the create, you know, I think you'd want to run down your creative solutions first, like, sure, if you're thinking of planting grass and watering and sprinkler systems versus leaving it more native and not having that water expense, then that's understandable and something that's, I think, more welcome by the public than even speaking about closure. So I think you're going to stir up a hornet's nest if you start throwing the term closure out there, if that's not truly our mission.
I agree with Ben, and earlier I was discussing with Darren how, I mean, if the Parks Board doesn't want to recommend closure of any, I mean, that's certainly an option. But yes, like you said, the prioritization, so the staff can focus on where it's needed most. I mean, that's, I think, the main point of that item.
I guess, Robert, here's a question for you. And is there a lot of work for 5 people dealing with the number of parks that you guys deal with? And then in your opinion, is there any way to alleviate that work load?
Well, actually, I mean, there's a lot, there is work. But what makes it worse is when kids start tearing up stuff. That's because you gotta stop what you're doing to go fix that. Last week, they kicked in the door at the American Legion. And that's the second time they do that.
Wow.
The first time was about 2-3 years ago, and then they did it again last week. So I gotta stop what we're doing, or send me or one guy or 2 guys to go fix it. So, I mean, the work is there. It's just these other people that are creating more problems than
That was American
Solutions.
Legion Park over there.
this
They
man.
kicked in the door like one of those little,
They kicked in the door for the bathroom,
oh my word.
so. And
I'm gonna have to
I don't
put
know,
the cameras up.
I don't know what's going on, and I'm not gonna say, well, it's your fault or this fault, because, you know, it's just,
Right.
things that, it just happens. And then last week, somebody pulled at the Liberty Field, they pulled the conduit, and when it snapped it back, it cut the wires to the scoreboard. So we spent $360 there to
Why?
fix something at the Liberty Park. To fix something that was not wear and tear, it's more like, you know, juvenile, I mean, no,
Vandalism.
yeah, there you go, vandalism, it's not. So it's just, you know, they're not keeping an eye on the kids there. I mean, I can understand. I mean, everybody's been tied down and it's
Well, they don't have a place to
summer and
go
everybody's
either.
running around and, you know, and then at the other field, they had a game. When the game was over, there was a kid at Manuel Payne jumping over the fence up and down, you know, but the more pressure you put on that top rail, you bend it. So I got on him and I told him, well, if you want to, you know, keep on jumping on it, but you're gonna have to pay for it after we, you know, I said, you know, he got all scared. I said, don't do that. I mean, please don't do that.
Yeah.
So, you know, you gotta keep an eye on those kids because they'll tear up a steel wall. It's just, you know, that's what makes it worse, that right there.
Yeah.
Question for you on over the last, you've been with the Parks Department 10 years,
No, actually, 7 years.
7 years. So over that 7 years, have you retained the same number? Have you managed the same number of people, or has it gone up or down?
No, but the same number of people,
Which is 5 to 6 total in the department?
5.
5 people. And so that number stayed the same.
Mhm.
And the number of parks you've managed has stayed the same also over that same 7 years.
Yeah,
And then has your budget stayed the same?
no, actually, it's gone down a lot.
Okay, over 7 years.
Mm.
So just take down the door and don't replace it. I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
No, in fact,
Yeah,
we
let it
fixed it.
happen.
The door wasn't too bad, just, it was just the frame.
Jesus.
okay.
What are they trying to do?
So
I was
is it,
thinking,
so
man, I guess somebody really had to. get
So
Some serious
just
bathroom.
leave it open and they'll just.
so it was just a, it was just a quick fix.
Oh, yes,
Just
ma'am.
able to- Okay.
Oh. God.
Have you seen an uptick in vandalism over the last year or two?
Excuse me?
Have you seen a increase in the vandalism like you were mentioning over?
Yeah, no,
Recently.
it's steady.
It's
It doesn't go up or doesn't go down, but it's there.
I don't know if that's a good answer.
Uh,
Same guy.
Oh, and then we installed them that you, did you get my picture of that lion we installed?
I don't think
Uh,
so.
that old lion. Well, somebody said it was used to, we used to be there, but I can't remember that thing ever being there.
A lion?
Yeah, that drinking fountain.
Oh, yes, at Coconut Park?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. You
Mm.
installed it again?
yeah, we installed it. We
Wow.
fixed it and put a new bubbler and. Let me see,
Right.
let me see.
I remember taking my kids when they were little. Jesus,
That's it.
wow.
But it's made out of fiber. Well, I'm worried that somebody's just gonna go out there and just yank it out of there.
Yeah.
Take it with them.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. But,
That's a cool.
I hope not. I mean,
Really?
They used to be there. I mean, like mega years back.
Wow, that is cool.
Oh, wow.
and the mechanic,
Nice.
he
And
patched it
colorful.
up, fiberglass and painted it and everything, so.
Huh.
I bet
Install
the
the
kids
bubble.
like that, don't they?
Yeah, hopefully it won't, hopefully it'll be there a while.
I hope so too.
I guess with you being the manager of the Parks Department and everything else like that, over the next 5 years, if you do see a reduction in budget or anything else like that, from the perspective of if there was no tax increase or anything else, or more revenue on your end, what would be your recommendation or advice on over the next 5 years? Would it be zero scaping staff, another human? What do you need? What do you recommend as a vision for the Parks Department over the next 5 to 10 years?
Actually, I need a little bit more equipment. I was wanting to shop there at the Coconut Park, a 40 by 60. So we won't have to, see, I got tools and equipment scattered all over. I got some at the warehouse, some at the Coconut. And you need something, you gotta go over here and get it.
You need an office.
Well, actually, Eric said we could go ahead and build an office, but I haven't had
When?
time. Made, or even we can make it, and, with the bathroom and stuff like that, but that way we can just go to one certain area and that's it. Don't have to wander around this way
Where you can store your
That way,
tools
yeah.
and have a place to,
Yeah.
to work in there.
and put have some of my equipment out of the element.
Yes.
Where do your men work out of right now?
It depends on what we're doing. I mean, we've got the welder over here, and we got the tractor over here, and we got another tractor over here, and it's just scattered all over the place, tools, our construction tools, saws, stuff like that.
Where do y'all clock in the morning?
And we don't clock in, we just go to the yard
Okay. And
over
you-
here.
Gotcha. So you would be looking for something similar to like what the gas department has, a building that's
Yeah, there you go. something like
specific
that,
to parks?
I'd say, yeah, that would be.
What
yeah.
about,
At one time, I don't know if Gio knows, but they were gonna do away with the solar panels at the park. And I figured, that would be a good place for it because it's fenced in already.
Hmm.
And we won't have to,
I didn't hear about that.
I
But
mean,
the recycling center, they have theirs. Have you been up there?
Mm-mm.
So it's like, you've
It's like
been
a
up
portable
Yeah.
building, right?
there. Yeah, it used to be tiny.
Yeah, I was in the tiny
Yeah.
one, guys.
Yeah, so they got a new one and it's bigger. I had envisioned something like that. And I wouldn't think it'd be too terribly expensive.
How much, any idea on the cost of that one? Is that where Adelina works?
Yes,
Yes.
and no, I'm not too sure. I think what that actually came from the sewer plant, because the sewer
Yeah.
plant got an upgraded.
And actually, at one time when Jessica was here, she wanted to move the whole yard to the recycling center. But
Yeah.
it's like a flood zone.
Yeah.
And once it rains, I mean,
Once it
you
rains,
can't
it's
get in
muddy.
or get out. 'cause you get stuck
Get a
out there.
canoe.
And that slab, by the way, is not crowned, it's bowed. So,
Oh, God.
So you would want your stuff at Coconut because that's close.
Yeah.
That's the majority
Yeah,
of work.
that's our main, out of where we work out of. You know, it's being, you got 3 fields there, the soccer field and the park and a swimming pool.
Yeah.
It would be be better for us.
What about equipment too, like mowers and all that stuff? Do you feel pretty good about what y'all have?
Yeah, yeah, I do. I could use a ditch witch, but
So you're thinking, you're happy with the number of people that, the 5 people and 6 people to manage the parks?
yeah, I am, because if I add one more on, that means that I would have to be, you know, I mean, actually, it would be good because we could have 2 groups take off, you know, and start doing whatever need to be done, you know, catch up or start something new or whatever. And in fact, we're fixing to lose one. He went to take the test to go to join the army, so we're fixing to lose a guy.
oh dear.
And y'all lost, was it Alonso?
Alonso, yeah,
He was there for quite a while now.
yeah.
I guess from the board, what do you guys think about if there's a reduction in budget and stuff like that, as far as recommendations for cost savings or, but also still providing the same level of service to the citizens for parks?
Unlike Ben, I don't want to close any of them because I'm sure that there's at least one person that likes every park, you know what I mean? I don't know, xeriscaping comes to mind for the smaller parks. Because you don't have to look after it that much. And yeah, you gotta pull some weeds every now, but it's not like mowing it or watering it all the time. And big boulders certainly take up room and look good. So, like, when I moved here, American Legion Park was just a square of stuff, it wasn't anything. And now look at it. I mean, now it has a bathroom. You can walk around it. It has native plants in there and people are using it. So, and that's the goal of the park, is so people will use it. My favorite park is Juan Medina because it's quiet. It has a nice little walking path. It's kept up really nicely. So I don't know, it's like, I think the xeriscaping is a good idea because we're gonna have to go to that in the future anyway. Water's a finite resource.
Yeah.
And it's not like they're gonna make a whole lot of it, So those are just things that we're gonna have to think about. And all for that water catchment.
Here's a question for the board then. So Pueblo Nuevo is coming, and also I was going to show you guys that in that one document there is from Texas Parks Wildlife. Just a notice, Marcy Tuck sent that, so you have a notice of the project still going. The federal government's just taking a long time. They're processing, everyone's has labor issues and stuff like that, so it's moving forward, but accepting the grants and everything else is taking a lot of time. So that's on the federal side of that grant. But the City of Alpine has a master parks plan, which I think is 10 years. I want to say it's 10 years. That Pueblo Nuevo is probably a 3-year project. I think once it starts, 2 to 3 years from once I start pushing dirt. That could theoretically give us a 2-year time span of planning and vision for another park, American Legion or anything else like that.
Sure.
To kind of move and on all that kind of stuff. What I would hope not to see is, because I think sometimes it's happened in the past where we just like in the city of Alpine, there's a lot of turnover, and we have it at the school district and everywhere. So we come in, we start doing some project work, and then that person's gone and the next one starts doing it. So you end up with a hodgepodge of everything else. And if we have a vision and a plan for it over 5 years, then it's gonna be cool. So we've got a master parks plan. We could possibly look at a American Legion Parks plan or something like that, and put that on our project timeline or something like that. I know Pueblo Nuevo is a passion project for you down there. And Karen and I are both in that area of Ward 3.
Yeah.
That's a passion project for us over there. But that's something we can kind of look at for it.
I'm in
And
Ward 1 now, but that's okay.
that's
I
right.
still like Ward 3, don't get me wrong.
So we'll take a look at that and see.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That way we could familiarize ourselves with that and maybe get some ideas off of that as to what we could do with the other parks.
So that's one thing I was gonna say too. I was out and met a gentleman that does planning like that down in Big Bend. He's actually out of the Maine area and just randomly met him. But I went and counted all the trees at Pueblo Nuevo. There's 70-something trees out there.
Whoa.
So it's kind of wild. We've got a ton of trees out there, all in a circle or in a square. And I was like, that's going to be, it's interesting because there's some of them are even close to each other. So when they start growing in, they're going to be close to it. I was like, what would you do with that? He said, it's a nursery. You've already got the trees there planting and watered and everything else like that. 5 years down the road, trees get expensive. If you wanted to, you could dig a tree up, move it.
Replant it.
Replant it
somewhere. That's
somewhere.
what I was just thinking.
And he said that would be a good use of the stuff there.
And that would thin out the trees in that area so that they don't come together. That's a good idea.
And then you have them if you wanted to move them to Coconut or Pueblo Nuevo or something else, whatever the option would be, but there'd be something
That's
like
wonderful. That's a good idea.
perfect. I think that was all. Any other questions you guys had or discussion for park prioritization? I guess could be my question then. Where do we want to leave this now? If we're going to have a workshop, I guess we don't need any conclusion, especially like what you said. Be careful using the word closure.
Right.
Then
I would say for the next meeting that we just have a list of all the parks and they number them from 1 to 12. With
There you
one being
go.
the
Of
priority,
importance, yeah.
12 being the least.
okay. Gio, question, if we had that, could we hand those park prioritization things also to the public so that they would fill it out? And then we're getting feedback which parks are most important to them?
Or like do a Google form or survey,
A survey.
but then you could also, if you wanted to incorporate it with the notice for the workshop, like get like a bit link.
Okay,
What have you, to the Google survey, maybe that'd be good.
Wow.
that'd be nice. We're getting feedback from them.
Yeah, I like that. Because that gives us the public's interest.
Okay.
But I guess, so in a workshop in that scenario, I think it's good gauging, kind of where the public stands, but then what are you asking them for, assuming anybody shows up besides us?
Well,
But what's kind of what's your goal of having them, or what are we seeking from them in that case?
I think that an important thing is, I think I should probably meet with city council members and you guys as well, if y'all wanted to, on asking why this was brought up in the first place. What's the end game?
And we could always push the workshop a month back too. I mean, I just think it might be a little quick to try to get a turnaround. in a month To
okay.
get like a survey.
right.
So we're
I mean, we
talking
can certainly try.
Maybe we could do that in June.
June?
Yeah, that's like 2 months, right? From here.
Okay. I know there was a push to kind of look into this quickly, but I think it is something we should,
Right.
spend some time on.
Because as soon, and if we do get some folks here, they'll definitely have some input.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm sure that everybody has a favorite park.
The closest one to them.
And everybody has a least
Yeah.
favorite park, so. I
Yeah,
don't know, Medina's not close to me, but I'll go there every day.
That's nice.
I was gonna
I
say,
like Coconut. But,
they're all good in their own way.
oh, they are.
Any green space is good green space in my mind.
Absolutely.
Or
Absolutely.
yellowish or brownish or whatever color it might be.
And it's gonna get more and more rare in the
Right.
future.
Right.
Mhm.
So,
I would say too, Earth Day. I'm gonna go out there to the Earth Day celebration we're having. So we'll reach out and say, hey, guys, what do you guys think about this? What are your favorite parks? Maybe have that forum at that time. So we're getting feedback.
That's a good that's a good deal. 'Cause I mean, I'll be there, but for a different reason. I'm helping Laura with the dark sky thing,
Oh, nice.
but I can multitask, so.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so we'll try to workshop that in June and we'll postpone that so we're not rushing everything.
Yeah, and I think our other missions here on the rental and the permitting, to me, those are more tangible and you're just seeking, because those are changes that impact everybody in the city if you do something, potentially. So those are pretty good ones to put out there and say, hey, we're considering changes. Is there anything on your mind, et cetera, as far as renting these places out, concerns, permits, if you're talking about granting alcohol or hours or anything like that. I think those are pretty good. It's the other one, park prioritization, that we gotta
Get their
get a
feedback.
So, yeah,
grasp
we
on
can
what we're really
Put that
asking for.
together and have it at that.
Yeah.
Event and then maybe post it. Well, not maybe, but we should post it.
I was gonna say too, I think Adelina and Heather will be there at the Earth Day event. So I was gonna go sit up there. You guys, please come sit with me and then we'll just pick the brains of the citizens. And then-
Sounds good.
Yeah, we'll have 2 tables there or 3, whatever.
Perfect.
So she's there with the Keep Alpine Beautiful.
I think she'll be there.
Yeah, she's gonna. For both
And
of
then you're
them,
working with
and
Heather.
I'll be there.
Yeah, there you go. Cool.
Awesome.
So there's another date.
Just another venue to gather information.
Right? A perfect venue.
So I guess any other discussion on prioritization or?
No.
Pretty happy? Then we'll go to H, discuss Pueblo Nuevo Park and the nearby baseball fields. And this was Lucy.
So the reason that I brought this up is because if I'm correct, I remember that I cannot remember if I was on city council or if I was on the Parks Board back then, but I thought that the two, what are they called? The back things where they play baseball. What are those
Bleachers?
called?
Oh,
No.
Backstops.
Back,
Yeah, those. There's 2 of them on Gallego, and I thought those 2 were gonna be moved to the field diagonally or put in another place. And the reason that I remember that coming up is because the ball gets hit and it goes into people's properties.
Mhm.
There's no fence to keep it in there.
Yeah.
You know,
I was under the thought that they were gonna move them once we started building the park.
Pueblo Nuevo.
No,
Are they playing T-ball there or something?
they're practicing.
yeah.
But I think there's only for little, the T-ballers and the coach pits and stuff like that. They don't, I mean, some of them are pretty good hitters, but not.
Yeah, I was surprised. I don't know. We've had some adults there where they have actually ruined one of my neighbor's fence completely. And they were 2 adults. Or children adults, I don't know which one to call them.
childish adults.
Yeah. And they actually ruined the whole fence.
By hitting balls up against it or what?
Yeah, what they would do is they would throw the ball from Gallego to the middle of that park. And then from there, they would throw it to nobody over there.
So they're expecting the fence to stop the ball.
Yeah, so they could go into that property.
That's not cool.
So the fence got replaced finally, but it's not, so they continue to do these little games,
Mhm.
so to speak, which was one of the reasons why those were supposed to be moved out of there.
I
You know, and
remember- I
that's-
remember that meeting and
And
yeah,
that-
once they get started building that park, yeah, they're supposed to move them.
So now what's happening is they're also targeting another property that's next to Estelas. There used to be a man that lived there and he passed away. So now the ball's going that way, which is on Chastain.
And it's
Okay.
still teenagers.
Oh, no, they're adults now.
They're adults. Well, maybe the cops should be called on those two people.
They have been. I don't know if they're tired of me.
Oh, but that's all right. You keep calling. That's what they're there for.
So anyways, but there's nothing to keep that ball from going elsewhere. There is no fence around it, so.
When you build that park over there,
Mhm.
are you gonna fence it in? Is it gonna be fenced in?
I don't
No.
believe so.
No, it's already
But,
set.
but once you build it, there's not gonna be, you won't play baseball on it.
Yeah.
Right?
True.
No, because it's divided into four.
Just the only thing they're gonna be,
Section.
you're gonna play there is basketball.
Mhm.
I don't know. Increased patrols is the only thing I could see, you know. But then they would see.
Do you know these kids? Do you know who they are? Don't
But
tell me.
but she's already called the police.
Is the Vegas?
Mhm.
Well, that's the kid that was jumping over the fence
Small
over there.
town, ain't it?
See,
Hey. I don't know what to do about that.
I mean, I could show you videos and pictures and y'all would be in shock as to the other things that go on in that park.
Go to the web.
Pablo Nuevo, really?
I mean, it kind
I
of
had
ties
a
in.
kid throw rocks. He was actually had a baseball and he thought he could just be hitting the rocks.
That's what happens when you don't have a baseball field.
And that's kind of along the same lines of the vandalism you were talking
Yeah.
about. Do you let APD know when you have to go fix it? or
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
kicked in, or-
we've called them,
Mhm.
but it's just like, I'm not gonna say that.
Yeah, I mean, because that's all you can,
I don't
that's
know.
all you can do.
They need more officers too, so, you know. I think the chief needs 10 more officers myself.
That might be something with a workshop with Daryl here talking about some of those things. Like, I'm sure that's gonna come up with alcohol and any of the other things. Like,
Correct.
I have never sat down, with the
Yeah.
chief to really know what they think of the issues they have with parks and stuff. I'm sure they have.
Yeah, and that's that's an interesting point, what he said. It's not the base load work, it's all the stuff that pops up that you're not expecting that
Yeah.
throws you off track.
We'll just invite them to the workshop.
So that was my thing.
Okay.
That's an important thing.
Yes.
I think that's the project, once it gets federal approval from CPWD, then 2 years down the road, be different.
It'd be a lot different.
It's still 2 years.
Well, I think by the time of completion, they haven't even, it looks like, I'll show you this afterwards so you can read this. But the federal part hasn't started because that grant is a state grant and I think a federal grant through federal water. So it has to go through approval on both. Marcy would know more about it than I, but I think they, even after complete approval, you're looking at 2 years, year and a half to 2 years.
The packet's right there.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
I guess any other comments on the Pueblo Nuevo there then, or? Okay, last thing we had on here was discuss updates on the Coconut Dog Park. I had thrown that on there. City Council approved the resolution that we took action on just to allow us to make improvements to the dog park. Talked to Megan. We'll start fundraising. I'm going to meet with Janine Bishop tomorrow for Alpine Humane Society, figure out, start raising money and stuff like that. Maybe reach out to some local businesses, see if they'll donate product in kind,
Right.
and just see if it takes a long time. It takes a long time. I'm, just keep moving forward with it to get it going. And Megan said, from that perspective, we just need to keep track of everything itemized, that we know where the money's getting spent and everything else like that, because that will end up going on to the books as a improvements for the city, for their property. So that's where we're at on that. Once I'll send a follow-up email just to let you guys know what comes about from Ms. Bishop tomorrow and where we're at on that. And we'll just keep going.
Because there's a lot of people with just roofing tin just laying around, that could be repurposed. But I'll be on the lookout for that, so.
Okay. And pricing, it'll be interesting now.
Yeah.
Pricing is,
We'll try to get them to donate it.
it'll be nice. I guess I was gonna ask too, side question, Robert or Gio may know. Somebody said that the dog park, the original one that we have there right now is around $140,000 project.
I don't,
That much?
Okay.
Wow.
That's what I was
On
gonna,
what?
I
That
was,
doesn't look like $140,000.
so that land was donated firstly by the Hendrixes or Ray Hendricks, they own KVLF.
okay.
I believe it was donated, so, I mean, I don't
So-
see how that could be
Could
possible.
build
Yeah,
a
I
house on
agree.
them.
It's just busy, right?
Build them a
Yeah.
house, build a dog house, like a huge one.
Where did you hear that?
It was at a local place, but you never know what to believe in a small town, so. That's what I was just gonna, I was wondering, wow, I couldn't believe that myself. That sounds kind of wild.
Well, you forgot the
I know.
roof.
Well, at this,
Right,
at 140,000, we can build them a little mansion.
Yeah,
Really, exactly.
and the carpet and the walls.
I'd stay with them,
Those dogs got a nice place. Huh?
And those little running water dishes, so they can.
right?
I guess, is there anything too, then on that last discussion item, is there anything you guys want to mention to Ms. Bishop tomorrow that I should talk to her about, or any ideas coming for the,
I wish she was on our board.
let me ask her.
Is that right?
That'd be work.
Right? I mean, it would only make sense,
Who is it?
Doesn't hurt to ask.
Miss Bishop.
I wonder if she, how busy she is. She's probably involved.
I mean,
in-
she could pop in every other month or something. She could actually Zoom it, yeah.
the-
I really want her, huh?
And then once we,
We can go get her and bring her.
once we start raising funds, then we'll reach back out. I think we're gonna get the building first, that kind of lined out, and then gutter it, and then kind of, so I imagine it a project that's gonna take longer time. So I'll probably follow up with you guys and get y'all's opinion of the landscaping and
Right,
everything else
right,
that,
right.
what y'all's opinion of this stuff.
If you do put a gutter on there and want to do some kind of catchment, I'll be happy to provide a barrel or two.
Oh, cool.
Because I mean, that's a personal sale for me. so.
And then we should just do a walk around with you out there, because the rain gardens and stuff that Adelina and Will Jewett are
Mhm.
super into. He
Ooh.
could show you how that works and
And then
everything else.
we could just have like lines going out to the gardens too and just help that out.
So,
I wonder
Yeah,
if
I'm-
maybe on this day, whatever, the 22nd,
Mhm.
if maybe we can just do a quick.
good call.
That's a good
Because we're all there.
answer.
Yeah, that is good. 'Cause Will probably be there too.
Just a quick,
Yeah, I think we should just kind of walk over there and check it
real
out.
quick.
Good answer.
Earth Day.
There you go, birthday.
God bless Earth. It's a good place to be.
Well, considering there's no planet B, yeah.
That we know of.
All right.
No, I don't know. They took Pluto.
Well,
If that is everything, then number 6, there's no current action items. I guess we'll go to number 7, board member comments, anything, Ms. Cantrell? Or-
No, I think we're trying to get going in the right direction. It sounds good to me so far.
Perfect. Lisa?
we're doing good.
Nothing else for me.
Perfect. Nothing from me. So I guess we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, second.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Okay.
Motion adjourned. Awesome.
Keo, thank you for your help again.
No problem.